Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Millennium TV News. This is Fahmid Islam with you. Before moving on, let's look at today's top stories. Jimmy Carter, former US president, reveals he has cancer. UK dismisses Rwanda spy chief case. Fidel Castro chides US ahead of embassy reopening. Jason resign, end of Iran spy trial for US reporter. Bangladesh police kill 6 alleged tiger poachers. Awami League pays tribute to Bangabandhu at his grave at Tungipara. Well, those were the headlines, now the details. The 90-year-old statesman underwent surgery to remove a small mass in Jimmy Carter's liver earlier this month. He said he would reveal more when facts are known, possibly next week. Mr. Carter will undergo treatment by physicians at Emory Healthcare in Atlanta. President Barack Obama wished Mr. Carter a full and fast recovery in a statement released on Wednesday. Jimmy, you are as resilient as they come, and along with the rest of America, we're rooting for you. Mr. Obama said the White House said Mr. Obama spoke to Mr. Carter on the telephone on Wednesday. Bernice King, daughter of Martin Luther King Jr., posted on Twitter, President Jimmy Carter is in my thoughts and prayers. May the Lord heal, comfort, and encourage this extraordinary servant leader to the world. Leaving the White House in 1981, Mr. Carter has remained active carrying out humanitarian efforts with his Carter Center in recent years. He founded the center, which focuses on human rights efforts and political mediation. Soon after he left office, he was later responsible for negotiating a 1994 nuclear disarmament pact with North Korea and has visited Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in recent years. Karenzi Karake was on bail in the UK following his arrest in June on a warrant issued by Spain. His arrest strained diplomatic relations between the UK and Rwanda. A Spanish judge indicated Gen Karake in 2008 for alleged war crimes. A UK ruling has been welcomed by Rwanda's Justice Minister Johnston Buziengi. Gen Karake had been the victim of an unjust case, he said. Rwanda's Foreign Minister Louise Mushikiwabo said she was delighted that Gen Karake was returning to Rwanda. This was an unnecessary and abusive process, she said in a tweet. Rwanda's President Paul Kagame had strongly condemned Gen Karake's arrest, saying the UK was showing a colonial mentality. He was on an official visit to London when police arrested him. Spanish authorities had wanted to put him on trial on charges of genocide, crimes against humanity, and terrorism, including the 1997 killing of Spanish aid workers. Rwanda has always maintained that Gen Karake was innocent and the charges were politically motivated. Fidel Castro instead criticizes American foreign and economic policy since World War II and accuses the U.S. of owing Cuba millions of dollars. The letter was published to mark Mr. Castro's 89th birthday. The U.S. Embassy will be reopened in Havana on Friday, with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry attending. Mr. Castro said the U.S. owed Cuba money because of the trade embargo the U.S. imposed on the communist-run island in 1960. Cuba says the embargo, which it calls a blockade, is hugely damaging to its economy. It says relations will only be fully restored once it is lifted. 3 Marines who lowered the American flag for the last time on 4th January 1961 will raise it again during Friday's ceremony in Havana. They are now retired and in their late 70s. I'm gonna love seeing that flag go up, said former Marine Jim Tracy, 78, on a U.S. State Department video. Cuba reopened its embassy in Washington last month. The fate of Jason Rezaian, a 39-year-old Washington Post journalist, is expected to be revealed within days. His defense lawyer, Leila Ashan, submitted a 20-page document, and she and Mr. Rezaian both gave oral defenses. He faces 10 to 20 years in prison. It was the fourth closed-door hearing in Mr. Rezaian's trial held by Iran's Revolutionary Court in Tehran. Mr. Rezaian's case has been condemned by the Washington Post and press freedom groups. He is paying the price of the suspicion, the animosity, and the paranoia between the two countries. His mother, Mary Rezaian, said her son, his wife Salehi, and 2 photojournalists were all arrested in July 2014 in Iran. He was the only one of the group not to be released. He was charged with espionage and distributing propaganda against the Islamic Republic. Police seized 3 tiger pelts, which they said were from animals that appeared to be freshly killed. The Sundarbans in southeast Bangladesh are home to the rare Bengal tiger. A recent survey found that just over 100 were living there, a sharp decline from the 440 animals recorded 10 years ago. Experts say the dramatic slump is down to more accurate surveying methods, but also to rampant poaching. A local police official, Harendranath Sarkar, told the BBC that during a raid, the alleged poachers began shooting and the officers fired back. The gunfight went on for about 15 to 20 minutes. We recovered 3 tiger skins and 5 guns and ammunition. From the look and smell of the skins, it seemed that the tigers were killed not more than a week ago, he said. We'll take a short break. We are back in a moment with the headlines here. China explosion, Tianjin death toll rises in port blasts. Afghanistan, Taliban suicide bomb attack near Kabul airport. Awami League pays tribute to Bangabandhu at his grave at Tungipara. Google shares close 4.1% up on Alphabet restructuring. And Australia captain Michael Clarke to retire after Ashes series. Welcome back to Millennium TV News. Local officials said at least 16 people were injured in the blast which happened at about midday 7:30 GMT. A Taliban spokesman said the attack targeted a convoy of foreigners, but it is unclear if any died or were injured. The incident is the latest in a series of recent deadly attacks following the announcement of a new Taliban leader. President Ashraf Ghani is due to hold a televised press conference later on Monday to discuss the security situation. Kabul's deputy police chief Syed Gul Agha Rouhani told reporters that a suicide bomber had driven a vehicle into the first checkpoint on the road into the airport. Images showed a large plume of smoke rising from the side of the blast, and locals reported seeing ambulances approaching the scene. Those killed were 4 civilians and a border police officer. Wahidullah Meyer, a spokesman for the Public Health Ministry, said a young child was among those injured in the explosion. 12 firefighters are among those who lost their lives. 36 are still missing. The blasts happened in a warehouse for hazardous chemicals and caused a huge fireball that could be seen from space. Hospitals have been overwhelmed with people seeking treatment for injuries caused by flying glass and debris. Some 66 people are in a serious condition. President Xi Jinping has promised a thorough investigation into what happened and transparent information disclosure to the public. Xinhua News Agency reports the first explosion occurred at about 23:30 local time, which is 15:30 GMT on Wednesday, in the city's Binhai New area, a vast industrial zone which houses car factories, aircraft assembly lines, and other manufacturing and research firms. The blast was followed 6 seconds later by another, more powerful blast and a series of smaller explosions. Leaders of the party led by General Secretary Ashraful Islam left for Tungipara after lighting candle and placing floral wreath at Bangabandhu Memorial Museum in Dhaka's Dhanmondi. The ruling party has announced a 40-day program to mark the National Mourning Day on 15th August. All its affiliated organizations also have month-long separate programs planned. A group of rogue army officials killed Bangabandhu along with most of his family members on that day in 1975 in a military coup. Her daughters Sheikh Hasina, now the party chief and the country's prime minister, and Sheikh Rehana survived the attack as they were abroad at that time. The team of Awami League leaders reached Tungipara around noon. The first wreath was placed on behalf of Awami League and the second on behalf of Hasina. The frontal organizations of the Awami League and party leaders of Gopalganj then paid their tributes. Special prayer were also held for the father of the nation's eternal peace. Syed Ashraf urged all to observe Bangabandhu's 40th death anniversary with profound respect. Among the cabinet members, Commerce Minister Tufail Ahmed, Agriculture Minister Mutia Chaudhry, and Disaster Management and Relief Minister Mufaddal Hossain Chaudhry Maya joined the entourage. Awami League Central Committee leaders, including Joint General Secretaries Mahbubul Alam Hanif, Jahangir Kobir Nanok, Organizing Secretary Ahmed Hossain, and Law Affairs Secretary Abdul Mateen Khosru, also went on to Tungipara along with several leaders of party's Dhaka Metropolitan Unit. Industries Minister Amir Hossain Amu, Awami League Organizing Secretary AFM Bahauddin Nasim, Office Secretary Abdul Manan Khan, and others also joined the program at Tungipara separately. Under the change, which was announced on Monday, a new parent company will be created called Alphabet. The restructuring will see the separation of Google from the group's more speculative ventures. Google co-founder Larry Page has said it will create a simpler structure for what had become a diverse group of businesses. It is hoped this will allow investors to see how profitable the core business is. Subsidiaries such as Google X, which develops projects such as contact lenses, self-driving cars, internet weather balloons, and Google Glass, will report separately from the core Google business. Some analysts predicted shares in the new holding company could rise from about $700 to well over $800. Deutsche Bank put a target of $840 on the shares, with its head of Internet and Digital Media Equity Research, Ross Sandler, saying there is significant upside from current levels. Ralph Sackart, an analyst at William Blair, said, "We applaud Google's decision to increase transparency, a key investor concern." But Thursday's rate of 1% down against the dollar was a smaller margin than the shock cuts earlier in the week. The bank had on Tuesday announced it would start setting the daily rate based partly on the previous day's trading, bringing the yuan closer to a free-floating currency. The move triggered concerns over a currency war to boost China's exports. Recent economic data had seen a decline in Chinese exports, adding to the worries that the world's second-largest economy was headed for a prolonged slowdown. A weaker yuan will make products cheaper abroad, meaning Chinese companies are more competitive on international markets. The Thursday midpoint rate set by the People's Bank of China, PBOC, the central bank, was 6.4010 yuan for $1, a 1.1% rise from the previous day, 6.3306. The midpoint is a guiding rate from which trade can rise or fall 2% during the day. Now the sports news. The 34-year-old saw his team surrender the Ashes after losing to England by an innings and 78 runs at Trent Bridge. He averages only 16 from 8 innings, and Australia are 3-1 behind with one match left at the Oval on 20th August. I certainly don't want to jump ship and leave the boys now. I'll play the last test, give it one last crack, but the time is right now. Clark said. Clark made his test debut in October 2004 and he has played 114 matches, scoring 8,628 runs at an average of 49.30. This summer's Ashes defeat is the fourth he has endured playing in England. He took over the Australia captaincy from Ricky Ponting in March 2011 and has presided over 46 matches, winning 23 and losing 16. Let's have a look at Millennium TV News Recap. Jimmy Carter, former US President, reveals he has cancer. UK dismisses Rwanda spy chief case. Fidel Castro chides US ahead of embassy reopening. Jason resign, end of Iran spy trial for US reporter. Bangladesh police kill 6 alleged tiger poachers. Awami League pays tribute to Bangabandhu at his grave at Tungipara. You're up to date with your top stories so far here on Millennium TV, and don't forget to log into www.millenniumtv.net. Thank you for staying with us. Allah Hafiz.